As email marketers, there's a very important law that we have to know about if you're going to be emailing at all in the United States. And that law is called the CAN-SPAM Act of 2003. CAN-SPAM stands for Controlling the Assault of Non-Solicited Pornography and Marketing Act of 2003. It was later updated in 2008, and we'll go into a few of the edits that happened between 2003 and 2008. This brief session that I'm going to go through today is actually a summarized version of a much longer seminar that I provide for about an hour, hour and a half to organizations that need to train their email marketers and other marketers about the important law of CAN-SPAM. So why should you care about CAN-SPAM? Let me tell you. If you violate the CAN-SPAM Act, there are financial as well as criminal penalties. For example, financial penalties could be as much as $16,000 or more per email that you send. Do the math. You send out 20,000 emails, $16,000 a pop. That's a lot of money. Secondly, you could end up in jail, literally. So this law has a lot of teeth in it and is absolutely something that you need to pay attention. Well, we recommend if you have multiple people involved in sending email out in your company, you should ensure that they're very familiar with the Act's requirements to ensure that you are in compliance to the best extent possible. And in fact, the law states that it may even be more lenient on companies that clearly exert best efforts in training their staff in complying with the law. Before we get into the important points of the CAN-SPAM Act, you need to understand one very important point, and that is, what is the difference between a promotional email and a transactional email? CAN-SPAM actually applies only to promotional emails. A promotional email is one which includes an advertisement or promotes in some way your products or services. A transactional email is one which is an email following some sort of e-commerce transaction or other transactions that might occur in your business setting, customer service inquiries, responses, and so forth. While many emails are clearly in one camp, promotional, or the other, transactional, there are certainly a lot of emails that ride the line between promotional and transactional. If ever you have question about what your email is, always err on the side of conservatism, which means assume that it's promotional, and therefore you should comply with the requirements of the CAN-SPAM Act. So let's jump into several of the key points of the Act. The first point is don't be misleading with your header information, and that includes your from name, your reply to address, and your routing information that goes along with the email. There's a lot of other information that's involved in the header. We won't go into those details in this short segment. The bottom line is don't try to trick the recipient as to who is actually sending this email. The second major point of CAN-SPAM is do not use deceptive subject lines. In other words, don't say one thing in your subject line such that when someone opens up the email and finds that the email is about something completely different, that will get you in trouble. The third important point of CAN-SPAM, you must clearly and conspicuously identify your email as an advertisement if it is a promotional email. The government actually provides a fair amount of leeway with respect to this, but suffice to say that you need to be clear that this is a promotional email and don't try to disguise it as otherwise. The fourth important point is that you need to tell your recipients where you are located. And in the 2003 Act, it actually stipulated that you had to include a physical address at the bottom of your email. In 2008, though, that was actually modified to allow you to include just a P.O. box instead of a physical address. Number 5 is probably one of the most important elements of the CAN-SPAM Act, and that's you must make it very easy and clear to recipients how to opt out or unsubscribe from your email. And that unsubscribe needs to work, so be sure that you test that frequently, such that if someone clicks on the unsubscribe link, that it actually unsubscribes them. And the government actually goes so far as to say that you should not allow more than one click for that unsubscribe to actually occur. So if you click on the unsubscribe link and you get to a web page, you can't ask for a bunch of other information before you actually give them the opportunity to unsubscribe. You then must give them a one-click unsubscribe link from that web page to be in compliance with the law. You need to make sure that that unsubscribe link works for 30 days. So if you're ever switching to a different email service provider, and you had unsubscribe requests, of course, in your previous emails, those links need to work for 30 days after you have sent the actual email. Number 6 is that you must honor your opt-out requests promptly. And that means actually in the law within 10 days. Typically, email service providers have this work in an automated fashion. And if someone unsubscribes through the unsubscribe link, that'll happen literally in real time and immediately. Number 7, and this is an important one because many companies work with a variety of service providers to help them actually manage and prepare and send their emails. You are responsible to manage and monitor the sending of your emails no matter who is helping you send those emails. So there's no way for you to actually contract out your legal liability in compliance with CAN-SPAM Act, even though you may be using another party to help you send those or manage those emails. Finally, although it's not a specific item listed in the Act itself, it is listed under penalties, and that is you must not harvest email addresses from the web or use what are called dictionary attacks. A dictionary attack is, for example, taking the domain of a company as company.com. You can't use an automated program to generate numerous different email addresses to see if you can get them through at the domain company.com. So if you do harvest email addresses or use a dictionary attack on a company, you can actually have criminal penalties involved, which does involve jail time. There are both financial and criminal penalties for violating the law. There are a number of elements that impact the amount of the financial penalties as well as criminal penalties, and those can be found in the actual law itself. It's very important to note that the CAN-SPAM Act requires all of these items, but in reality, when you're working with professional email service providers like Lyris HQ and ExactTarget, they have a much higher bar for compliance with regards to permission-based email. And what that means is that even though you may be allowed by law to send emails to people who you didn't get explicit permission from to send the emails, you're not actually allowed to in many of the terms of use with the email service providers. So you do have a much higher bar, and you should understand the terms of use of your email service provider in addition to the requirements of the CAN-SPAM Act. I want to make note that you should be very much aware of the laws of Canada and of European countries because they have a higher bar than the CAN-SPAM Act stipulates in the United States. For example, Canada requires that you do have explicit permission from a recipient before you send the email. In the US, according to CAN-SPAM, you don't necessarily need permission to send the first email, but you must provide the ability to opt out with an unsubscribe link. In Canada and in Europe, you'll find that if you look at those laws, that you're actually required to get the permission as well as provide the opt-out. It's important for you to consult your legal counsel with respect to your specific situation and email marketing program to ensure that you are actually in compliance with the law. If you have questions about the CAN-SPAM Act, please contact Fulcrum Tech and we'll be glad to help you out however we can. Also, if you'd like a copy of the U.S. government's brief summary of the CAN-SPAM Act, contact us and we'd be happy to send you one.